If there's one thing I love, it's the sight of blood. And in Diablo 4, there are rivers of it.
You thought she was coming back, right? All right, welcome to another Sloop Gaming video. Today, Wednesday, August 2nd, in the Lord year of 2023, Blizzard Diablo 4 has dropped the patch notes 1.1.1 for the upcoming update, which will occur August 8th. Let's get right into it. Diablo 4 patch notes by Blizzard Entertainment, August 2nd, 2023. The Diablo 4 team has been diligently monitoring your feedback as we introduce patches to keep your experience in Sanctuary smooth. We will update the below list and denote whether the fixes are intended for PC, Xbox, PlayStation, or on all platforms. 1.1.1 build, all platforms for August 8th, 2023. Class balance updates. Hello Wanderer, welcome to patch 1.1.1. We've made quite a few balance adjustments to classes. Our goals with this patch are as follows. We want to improve the effectiveness of sorcerers and barbarians while addressing the following for each class. Sorcerer, improve late game survivability, mostly through Paragon board improvements. Adjust some class mechanics to move away from kiss curse effects. This is where the player gains power but loses power somewhere else. Barbarian, speed up the flow of combat in the early game by increasing fury generation on basic skills. Add late game excitement by increasing the power of unique items. 2. Strengthen builds that aren't reaching a high power level. 3. Diversify the use cases for legendary items and other effects that are overly situational. Let's get into the specifics that they addressed for each class. Barbarian. Skills. Bash. Fury gain increased from 11 to 13. Flay. Fury gain increased from 10 to 13. Enhanced Frenzy. Fury gain increased from 2 to 3. Lunging Strike. Fury gain increased from 10 to 12. Double Swing. Damage increased from 40 to 50%. Enhanced Rupture. Damage increased from 45 to 70%. Enhanced Charge. Damage increased from 30 to 60%. Mighty Charge. Vulnerable duration increased from 2 to 4 seconds. Violent Upheaval. If upheaval damages at least 2 enemies or a boss, you gain berserking for 2 seconds. Increase to 3 seconds if it damages at least 4 enemies. Passives. Aggressive Resistance. Damage reduction increased from 3 to 4%. Gushing Wounds. Bleed damage dealt based on critical damage bonus increased from 100 to 115%. Bleed damage when overpowering increased from 11 to 70%. Unconstrained. Berserking damage bonus increased from 25 to 35%. Updated the tooltip to more clearly reflect this key passive's value. Walking Arsenal. Bonus damage duration increased from 6 to 8 seconds. Legendaries. Aspect of Ancestral Force. Damage increased from 32 to 50% to 40 to 58. Death Wish Aspect. Thorns increased from 0.5 to 0.75 to 0.65 to 0.85. Aspect of Unrelenting Fury. Core skill cost or refund increased from 10 to 20 to 20 to 30%. Additional functionality. Cost refund also granted when hitting bosses. Aspect of Ancestral Charge. Damage increased from 50 to 100% to 75 to 125%. Aspect of Burning Rage. Damage increased from 0.22 to 0.28 to 0.3 to 0.38. Aspect of Bull Kathos. Damage reduction while in earthquakes increased from 5 to 15 to 15 to 25%. Earthquake Aspect. Damage bonus in earthquakes increased from 5 to 15 to 15 to 25%. Uniques. Field of Crimson. Damage increased from 0.18 to 0.34 to 0.22 to 0.38. Damage that enemies take standing in pools increased from 15 to 20%. Rupture cooldown reduction affix replaced with bonus critical strike damage. Hellhammer. Damage increased from 0.6 to 0.8 to 0.85 to 1.1. Burning duration increased from 3 to 4 seconds. Damage to crowd control enemies affix replaced with bonus critical strike damage. Ramaldni's Magnum Opus. Physical damage affix replaced with vulnerable damage. 100,000 steps. Attacks reduced evades cooldown affix replaced with bonus evade charges. Damage against stun affix replaced with bonus movement speed. Battle Trance. Basic skill damage affix replaced with cooldown reduction. Bonus attack speed to other skills increased from 10 to 20 to 35 to 45%. Sorcerer. Skills. Flickering Firebolt. Firebolt generates 2 mana when hitting an enemy. Enhanced Fireball. Casting Fireball increases its radius by 50%. Destructive Fireball. Fireball's critical strike damage is increased by 20%. This bonus is increased to 30% if Fireball hits at least 3 enemies. Greater Chain Lightning. Each time Chain Lightning bounces, it deals 5% increased damage for its duration. Destructive Chain Lightning. Chance to form crackling energy increased from 25 to 30%. Passives. Veer's Mastery. Damage bonus increased 10 to 15%. Isu's Ferocity. Additional functionality. Both bonuses are also granted for 3 seconds when hitting a boss with a critical strike. Combustion. Your burning effects. Combustion. Your burning effects deal times 20% increased damage, plus an additional times 2% increased damage per unique source of burning you have applied to the enemy. Sorcerer Paragon. Searing Heat legendary node. Casting Fireball or Meteor increases your critical strike chance by 5% for 5 seconds up to 15. Ceaseless Conduit legendary node. Increase crackling energy's damage from 2 to 3% per 20 intelligence the player has reinforced rare glyph. Damage reduction increased from 10 to 15%. Territorial rare glyph. Damage reduction increased from 10 to 15%. Warding rare glyph. Damage reduction increased from 13 to 25%. Keeper of Flames rare node. Damage reduction increased from 4 to 5%. Bonus damage reduction increased from 4 to 5%. Smoldering Embers rare node. Damage reduction from burning enemies increased from 4 to 5%. Bonus damage reduction from burning enemies increased from 4 to 5%. Guarded rare node. Damage reduction from vulnerable enemies increased from 4 to 5%. Bonus damage reduction from vulnerable enemies increased from 4 to 5%. Oppressive rare node. Damage reduction from vulnerable enemies increased from 4 to 5%. Lightning Resilience rare node. Maximum life bonuses increased from 4 to 6%. Now, reminder, during the campfire chat that we streamed live last Friday, the devs were very specific to mention that these 1 or 2% increases, although seem small on paper, it's only a movement of 1 tick, will play out better in game due to the coding and the math that is internal as you play. I'm not a dev. I can't explain the intricacies of the code, but that is what they communicated to us. So I would not fret that, oh, it's only a 1% move. The 1% should have significant ramifications and effectiveness in game when you take advantage of this update. Again, that'll be August 8th next week. Legendaries. Serpentine Aspect. You may have 1 additional Hydra active, and Hydra's duration is increased by 14 to 24%. This now also affects Hydra's enhancement effect. Aspect of conflagration. Bonus burning damage increased from 20 to 30 to 20 to 40%. Aspect of engulfing flames. Bonus burning damage increased from 30 to 40 to 60 to 80%. Aspect of three curses. Increase the critical strike damage of meteor and fireball by 20 to 40%. Double this bonus against healthy enemies. Wow. Flamewalker's aspect. Bonus movement speed duration increased from 4 to 6 seconds. Gravitational aspect. Ball lightning orbits around you and deals 15 to 25% increased damage. Aspect of unbroken tether. Additional chain lightning bounces increased from 2 to 4. Recharging aspect. Each time chain lightning bounces, you gain 1.5 to 3 mana. Charge aspect. Bonus movement speed duration increased from 4 to 8 seconds. Aspect of the Bounding Conduit. Bonus movement speed increased from 20 to 25 to 25 to 30%. New legendary, Mage Lord's aspect. Increase Veer's Mastery Key passive's damage reduction by 6 to 9% for each close enemy, up to 18 to 27%. Okay. Aspect of Frozen Orbit. Damage increased from 20 to 30 to 30 to 40%. Storm Swell aspect. Bonus damage increased from 11 to 20 to 21 to 30%. Snow Veiled aspect. Unstoppable duration increased from 2 to 3 to 3 to 5 seconds. Additional functionality also grants 10% bonus armor for 3 to 5 seconds. Incendiary aspect. Lucky hit. Damage from your pyromancy skills has up to a 12 to 17% chance to restore 10 mana. Snow Guard's aspect. While within your own blizzard and for 3 seconds after leaving it, you take 20 to 25% less damage. Aspect of Concentration. Mana regeneration increased from 20 to 30 to 40 to 50. Duration requirement to gain its benefit reduced from 3 to 2 seconds. And lastly, uniques. Gloves of the Illuminator. Damage penalty reduced from 65 to 55 to 45 to 35%. Damage to stun affix replaced with Lucky Hit. Change to Restore Resource. Illuminator's first bounce occurs much closer to the player. Okay, and that's everything for the Sorcerer. It looks like after the update 1.1.1, fire and electricity are definitely the play with Sorcerer. Let's go on to Druid. Skills. Earth Spike. Spirit gain increased from 11 to 13. Claw. Spirit gain increased 11 to 12. Storm Strike. 14 to 15. Wind Shear, 13 to 14. Maul, spirit gain increased 15 to 17. Wolves, passive damage increased from 7.8 to 11%. Active damage increased from 110 to 135%. Enhanced Wolfpack, damage bonus increased from 20 to 25%. Brutal Wolfpack, attack speed bonus increased from 20% to 25%. Ferocious Wolfpack, fortify amount increased from 5 to 8%. Ravens, passive damage increased from 13 to 20%. Brutal Ravens, additional functionality, increased the passive damage of Ravens by 40%. Wow. Rabies, damage over time increased from 76 to 110%. Paragon, Lightning Resilience Rare Node, maximum life bonus increased from 4 to 6%. Legendaries, Aspect of Metamorphic Stone, Spirit cost reduced from 60 to 50. Damage dealt increased from 80 to 100 to 100 to 120%. Aspect of the Alpha, Damage increased from 75 to 100 to 90 to 115. Mangled aspect. Resource gain increased from 1 to 3. Class mechanic, overload. Lucky hit chance increased from 20 to 40%. Like Druid got some big bumps there as well. All right, let's take a look at the Necro. And I'm being nice. I'm saving my rogue that I'm playing for last. We'll take care of all you guys first. Necromancer skills. Enhanced Bone Spirit. Cooldown reduction increased from 6 to 7 seconds. Paragon Wither Legendary Board. Willpower requirement for bonuses reduced from 50 to 40. Bonus damage per 40 willpower increased from 2.5 to 4%. Legendaries. Aspect of Empowering Reaper. Damaging enemies with Sever has a 10 to 20% chance to spawn a pool of blight under the target that deals 20 to 60% bonus damage. This effect can only happen once every 3 seconds. Aspect of Exposed Flesh. Lucky hit, up to a 10% chance to generate 30 to 50 essence when hitting a vulnerable enemy. Aspect of Decay. Damage increased from 20 to 40 to 25 to 45. Aspect of Torment. Essence regeneration increased from 20 to 30 to 90 to 170%. Wow. Hulking aspect. Legendary category changed from resource to utility. Chance for Golem to reduce its cooldown increased from 1 to 4 to 2 to 5%. Chance to Golem to spawn a corpse increased from 0.5 to 2%, from 1 to 2.5%. Uniques. Greaves of the Empty Tomb. Intelligent affix replaced with bonus movement speed. Minions. The following attacks now deal reduced damage to Druid companions and Necromancer minions. Balrog, Fire Breath. Elite affixes. Fire Enchanted, Electrified Obelisks, and Shocklance. Alright, pretty pedestrian for the Necromancer. A couple highlights here. This aspect of Torment with the Essence regeneration going from 20 to 30 to 90 to 170. Definitely want to hear you Necro mains how you feel about that, or any of the other bullet points here. Please let us know in the comments below. And last but certainly not least, Sanctuary's favorite daughter, my rogue. Skills. Fundamental Invigorating Strike. Energy threshold increased from 50 to 75%. Primary Forceful Arrow. Every third cast pierces enemies. Enhanced Caltrops. Damage bonus increased from 3 to 5%. Poison Trap. Damage increased from 344 to 396%. Thank you very much. Supreme Rain of Arrows. Rain of Arrows first wave knocks down enemies for 3 seconds. Passive, Victimize. A lucky hit chance increased from 35 to 45%. Rugged, damage reduction against damage over time effects increased from 6/12/18 to 9/18 27%. Siphoning Strikes. Lucky hit chance increased from 75 to 85%. Still don't think I'm gonna be using it, but how do you guys feel? Again, let us know in the comments section. Legendaries. Aspect of Elusive Menace. No longer requires hits to be from close enemies. Aspect of Quickening Fog. You automatically drop a smoke grenade at the end of dash. Smoke grenades reduce dash's cooldown by 0.4 to 0.6 seconds per target, up to 2 to 3 seconds. Uniques. Wind Force. All stat affix replaced with vulnerable damage. Fantastic. Word of Hakan. Ultimate damage affix replaced with cooldown reduction. That is a great move. Out of the few uniques that I have, the Word of Hakan is one of them, and I don't use it Maybe I will now. I'm all about having cooldown reductions. Gameplay updates. Monster density. We are increasing monster density in Nightmare Dungeons and in Helltide. Bosses above level 60 will have more health. Examples. Bosses at level 60 and below remain unchanged. Bosses at level 80 have 50% increased health. Bosses at level 100 have 100% increased health. Bosses at level 120 have 120% increased health. Bosses at level 150 and above have 150% increased health. Bosses and events. Developers note we are making adjustments to the health values of high-level boss monsters. Level 35 and higher boss monsters will now have a 100% chance to drop a legendary item. Treasure goblins now have an increased legendary item drop chance from level 6 to 14 and a guarantee a legendary item drop starting at level 15. Legion events are now more rewarding and guarantee a legendary item drop starting at level 35. General. We have made multiple improvements on how damage and other effects interact with active barriers. Bonus damage or bonus effects that are applied on hit or when dealing damage will now apply the same effect through barriers. Example, the exploit Paragon glyph will now apply vulnerable to enemies that have an active barrier. Cheat death effects will now work properly when the player has an active barrier. This also affects PvP play. Varsham will now break through any bone wall segments he dashes through. The cost for refunding skill and Paragon points has been reduced. The reduction starts smaller at lower levels and hits a maximum of 40% at level 100. Example, level 50, 12%, level 60, 18%, level 70, 24%, level 80, 30%. We increased the stack limit for elixirs from 20 to 99. An additional stash tab can now be purchased at the stash with gold. We have restored the cast time for leave. Leave Dungeon back to 3 seconds. Developers note: Leave Dungeon ability was being used as another method of easy escape from danger in dungeons, particularly for hardcore players. However, we recognize that this is outweighed by the downside of the game feeling less responsive. We heard your feedback and are reversing this change. Malignant Hearts, Caged Heart of Spellbreaking. Change to, upon taking elemental damage, gain 10 to 20% damage reduction for 5 seconds. Generic unique items. Temerity. Plus all stats affix replaced with max life. Barrier is now based on maximum life. Now properly accounted by conditions checking for the player having a barrier. Bug fixes, accessibility. Screen reader support for reader class icons has been added. Fix an issue where the screen reader wouldn't read out capitalized, accented letters or special characters. Cooperative play. Fix an issue where progression in the final straw quest could be blocked during co-op play. Fix an issue where only the first player could activate points of interest during co-op play. I'm not going to keep on saying fix an issue, I'm just going to read them down. Each bullet point, they fixed an issue. Where using a town portal while attempting to enter a dungeon would cause both players to get stuck during local co-op. Where follower NPCs could not function properly in scenarios where players were mounted during local co-op. Where the quest progress tracker of other players wouldn't display properly in certain situations during local co-op. Where the season info would not properly display when player 2 created a new character during local co-op. Where a player engaged in conversation with an NPC would see a black screen if another player in their party teleported away. Dungeons. Again, these are all fixed an issue. Where progression in the Seaside Descent dungeon could be blocked when the Butcher or a Treasure Goblin spawn behind a barrier. Where the Determination Malignant power wouldn't function against the Resource Burn affix for Nightmare Dungeons. Where the Resource Burn affix for Nightmare Dungeons was applying from close enemies and not just distant enemies. where the boss in the Den of the Blighted could be damaged through the fog wall. Critters, non-combative creatures in nightmare dungeons with the Death Pulse affix will no longer explode on death. This explosion was never dealing damage. Fix an issue where players could leave their party after dying in a nightmare dungeon, re-enter the party, and then re-enter the dungeon and not have their revives count towards the dungeon revive cap. Fix an issue where Animus carriers killed before the Animus objective was triggered would not drop Animus, blocking dungeon progression. Where the reset dungeon button often malfunctioned. Where Keeper Zorlin sometimes would not drop Garen's key in the Garenhold Nightmare dungeon. That actually happened to me one time. Gameplay. Barbarian. Fix an issue where charge didn't carry all enemies hit along with the Barbarian. Where lunging strike could cause the player character to get stuck under the ground. That did happen to me. Where the bonus critical strike chance granted by the Focus Rage Malignant power could be consumed by non-combatant skills. Actually, that wasn't on my Barbarian. That was when I teleported with my Sorceress during Season 0. Fix an issue where the aspect of Berserk, ripping, wouldn't cause targets to bleed when berserking. Druid. The tooltip for the Moon Rage Malignant power now also communicates the power's additional lucky hit chance of spawning a wolf when damaging a boss. This tooltip now properly communicates that it grants +3 ranks to wolves. Fix an issue where the Call of the Wild and aspect of the Stampede were not properly affecting the passive portions of companion skills and the active portion of wolves. Necromancer. Again, all fix an issue. That caused more blood orbs than intended to be active at the same time. Blood orbs now function like crackling energy in that they cap at 30. Rip Necro. Where guaranteed overpower attacks from the Rothma's Vigor key passive were not benefiting from the Paragon legendary node Bloodbath. Where the automatic corpse explosion cast from the Sacrilegious Malignant power could ignore the damage reducing effect from the power when using unenhanced corpse explosion. Where the untimely death aspect only increased overpower damage on the blood lance that was cast and not other lance targets. Where the decrepit aura malignant power was equipped twice, the power with the lowest number of near enemies required to activate was not the one that would trigger. Where shields held by a necromancer would cover their face in loading screens. Fix an issue where the necromancer's imperfectly balanced passive could only have 1 point allocated to it. Where the decrepit aura malignant power wouldn't trigger when mounted. Rogue. There's only 2 bullet points. I think Rogue's doing pretty good. Fix an issue where Poison Trap could be infinitely cast without spending energy by using the concealment skill near zone transition areas. That I never experienced. Fix an issue where the Shadow Clone's taunt effect from the Trickery Malignant power could taunt other players in PvP, and the taunt was not breakable by unstoppable effects. I wish I'd known that, or else I would have gone to the Fields of Hatred and actually tried to play some PvP, because I use the Trickery Malignant power exclusively in my build. That would have been funny, but I'm glad that it's fixed. Definitely frustrating if you are affected by it. Sorcerer. Fix an issue where the Elemental Dominance passive didn't function correctly when using core and mastery skills that dealt damage over time. Example, a meteor cast at above 50 mana that would take you under 50 mana would not get the full damage bonus. Fix an issue where the Omnipower Malignant power wouldn't properly consume additional mana, which would then not trigger other interactions with additional resource consumption. Example, the damage reduction from the Mana Shield passive. Fix an issue where the Omnipower Malignant power was inconsistently launching the appropriate number of projectiles. In addition, The tooltip has been updated to better describe the power. Okay. The previous tooltip was a bit misleading as it did not consume the entirety of your mana pool. It will consume as much as it can depending on the number rolled on the affix. Okay. I have not used the Omni Power on Sorcerer this season, but I did hear that it was extremely popular. It sounds like it just got nerfed. Sorcerers out there, let me know how true this is. Let me get your thoughts in chat. Fix an issue where the effects of the Dark Dance Malignant Power would reset the Align the Elements passive. Fix an issue where the random location teleport effect from the Oculus would cause players to get stuck in the environment. General. Fix an issue where the speed increase from the spur skill while mounted was slower on controller than keyboard and mouse. Where invasion portals spawn during certain Helltide events could be pushed off screen with fear effects. Where Paragon rare nodes would sometimes not provide bonuses with stat boosting gear. Where continuously enchanting an item could result in having the same stat show repeatedly in subsequent rerolls. Where post-death damaging effects ignored the damage reduction from stats of close or distant enemies. Where mounting your steed while moving would behave erratically when playing on console. Monsters. Fix an issue where elite enemies with the teleporter affix could teleport from off-screen and not deal excessive damage. Where tusked charger enemies could still damage the player after dying. Where the corpse spawn enemy wouldn't attack the player. Where the Majub monster was more difficult to defeat than intended. Quests. Fix an issue where progression would be blocked during the Reject the Mother quest if the player left the game and came back. Where quest objectives could be missed while mounting during the Desperate Remedies quest. Where the Fury Against Fate quest could have its progression blocked. Where the quest tracker pin would not be visible outside of the zone where the Ruins of Faith quest was located. Where the gore-soaked barricade could become indestructible after exiting and returning to the cellar during the Fury Against Fate quest. Where players could repeatedly fight Varshan during the final seasonal quest by resetting the dungeon where he spawned. Season of the Malignant. Fix an issue where the Prudent Heart Malignant power would not trigger while mounted. Where the Dark Dance Malignant power could behave as if the player was damaging themselves, which could apply other effects that occur when the player deals damage. Where the Invoker of Varshan recipe could be lost. For any player that lost the recipe, it can be acquired from any Malignant kill after the seasonal quest line has been completed. Where the Barber Malignant power would absorb damage from all other players and not just the player it equipped. Fix an issue where the Barber Malignant power would absorb damage from all other players and not just the player with it equipped. Okay. Does that fix the community concerns of the Barber? I don't know. A lot of it was seeing the damage numbers. The Barber is something that I have not used. I think I equipped it for one session, but didn't really see any of the ill effects that the community has discussed. Those that have used it extensively or exclusively, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Fix an issue where the Urn of Bargaining Season Blessing was increasing the enchant cost for items. Fix an issue where the Dark Dance Malignant Heart could kill the player. It will no longer consume life if the player does not have enough life to pay. Shop and Battle Pass. Fix an issue where the Arise emote's visual effects wouldn't appear when playing on low graphical settings. Where the Dagger Tap emote for Rogue from the Battle Pass would lock player movement for its duration. Where the female Necromancer animation for the Cage Puppetry emote had visual errors in the preview. where the Phantasm Walker cosmetic set had multiple visual errors, such as clap. UI. Fix an issue where text was missing when speaking to Crest during the Tangled Memories quest, where the subtitles during the Light Extinguish quest were out of sync with voice dialogue. There's multiple UIs here. I'm not going to read them all. Miscellaneous. Fix an issue where the reins of the bloody steed would reappear in the Stable Master's menu after it was already acquired, where opening multiple clan profile windows would cause a crash, where a certain necromancer hairstyle would intersect the character's neck in cutscenes, where audio from Corman could be heard even if the player was far away from him during the Entered the Forest clearing quest step, where the weather effect and map color change to denote Helltide would persist after Helltide ended, where skipping the initial cutscene after creating a new character could cause a crash. Fix an issue where the bloody liquid steed was not always rewarded after defeating Echo of Lilith. Various other visual stability and performance improvements for all platforms. And there you have it. Today's patch notes for update 1.1.1 that we'll be releasing next week on August 8th. If you have any questions at all, any comments about what we just read, what we've just heard, please let us know in the comments section below. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the light be with you. Thank you for watching. Likes and shares are kindly appreciated, and subscribe for more Diablo 4 content. Peace.